Greetings YouTube, welcome back to the channel. You'll see I've got a name tag on here because I am fixing to go to day 5 of new faculty orientation because technically my promotion means that I had to start over at my university. It's not a bad thing, it's actually a really good thing. I've met some incredible people from other departments and learned more about my town than I knew, and it's just nice. It's nice to meet botanists, it's nice to meet biologists, it's nice to meet the math department, and the music department, the art department, so many departments you probably don't care about. But needless to say, I am juggling what is now going to be real life for me for the next 3 years, because this is a 3-year promotional term with renewal, of course, opportunities. And before, I had 9-month appointments that were yearly, and that is very scary when you don't know if the funding is going to be there or if you maybe didn't make the best impression on your supervisor and you're not sure if they're going to bring you back the following year. So, just quote-unquote adulthood or adulting, even though I hate that word because it sounds like adultery. We have the solo side quest. I can't tell you, I think part of the confusion with this, like a lot of confusion with this, is that sometimes these seem to be picking up that you're using champions and sometimes they aren't. And we're not used to having like stacks of big brain, mountain of muscles, team player. We're just not used to having stacks of these. So it is fairly confusing. I was trying to get Mama Bear to realize, because if you're watching this and don't know, you really need to do at minimum 1 room a day for the legendary incursions, because you really need to get your free daily zone bonus and the 25,900 or 858 points that you accumulate does add up, and you don't want to leave those on the table for a minute or definitely less than 5 minutes of actual work. So that is how I want to start this video off, but we're going to go straight from that to a somewhat controversial forum post by AMS90, simply titled, "Kabam, why did you make this solo event?" Now, just because I read a forum post doesn't mean I agree with it, but let's see what the post says. I play map 8 in tier 1 Alliance War. I can't just bring random champions to Alliance Quest or Alliance War. Bringing the wrong counter to an Alliance War fight may result in deaths. Deaths may result in losing the war and hurting my teammates and my alliance as a whole. Alliance Quest is different, since dying doesn't mean losing points, but it means losing items. In map 8, each path requires certain counters, and bringing random champs from a random pool may result in iteming out. One could think, whatever you want, the rewards, just go ahead and throw your items at until you score enough points. Well, here's the thing. Alliance Quest items are a finite resource, and they're pricey as well. This kind of design doesn't really take into account the players who are tackling harder content. I have zero issues doing the other solo event, where you can use the champs in Arena or Event Quest, but Alliance Quest and Alliance War, that's a different thing. And yes, especially for those of you at the top, this is not designed for people who are trying to push themselves for the highest tiers of really either content, but especially war. And I think Mark JV81 immediately recognizes that point when he says, one would argue the rewards are hardly aimed at people who play map 8 and tier 1 Alliance War. Maybe, but there's a Paragon objective. Paragon players play map 8 usually. Now, again, I'm a Paragon player, but I'm a Paralane player, because I want to go Paragon to a easier difficulty. I want to be gone to map 6 in Alliance Quest, and I don't do Alliance War, and the more I think about it, the more I'm like, I just don't care about those points. Maybe that makes me a bad person, but I don't care about it. Here we go. I disagree. 5,000 6-star shards, 5,000 tier 3 alpha, 7,000 tier 6 basic. Those are resources everybody needs. With that mindset, shouldn't I always just skip monthly event quest and side quest? I think this is the wrong approach for the matter. I think side quest as well as event quest should be accessible to all the players, except for the requirements of the title tied to the progression level, which is also linked to the difficulty of said quest. I just wanted to point out how it doesn't make any sense to have side quest objectives tied to Alliance War and Alliance Quest, but it seems on this forum there must always be somebody criticizing everything that is said regardless. Well, Lord knows that is one of the biggest complaints of the perception of my channel. I learned that's a complaint of the perception of KT1's channel after the questions were submitted. And look, there are times where criticism feels a bit unneeded. I don't think this is one of those times. I get why people are upset here. Because in the end, especially for war, and I know sometimes the off-season changes things, but you have specific paths that you need to take with specific counters. And if you change that up, yeah, you could get wrecked easily. Especially if you're bringing in champs that aren't ranked up. So, I get the argument. I kind of get both sides, but we haven't seen it like this before. And I think Kabam kind of didn't think through all the things. And that's my takeaway from this.